want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. She is destroying him. When a narcissist gets hold of an individual, they are owned by us. The only reason that we bother with a person is for the extent to which they cater to the prime aims. We need to control that individual because we're hypersensitive to threats to our control. For some individuals, we'll draw fuel from them, which is most people that we will interact with. Others, but not everybody, provides us with character traits and residual benefits. And of course, the individual that is deemed to be a combination of the easiest to control, along with fountaining with fuel, providing lots of residual benefits and character traits, invariably becomes the intimate partner primary source. The narcissist latches onto this individual, almost akin to a tick, bleeding this individual, draining them, leeching from them in a variety of different ways. Of course, it depends upon the constitution of the fuel matrix and the subschool of narcissist, but in broad brush terms, the narcissist will drain that individual in terms of sucking as much fuel as possible from them, taking their money, taking their friends away from them, ostracizing them from family members, diminishing their self-worth, their self-esteem and self-confidence, causing them to no longer participate in the hobbies and activities that once made them happy, causing them to lose interest in certain activities, events. The narcissist takes and takes and takes. Added to this taking, there is the toll of potential physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, psychological and sexual abuse, which all takes its toll on the victim, aging them, causing them to suffer post-traumatic stress disorder, possibly causing different physical and mental ailments to be experienced as a consequence of not only being drained by the narcissist, but being mistreated by the narcissist, because as you know from my work, it is the intimate partner primary source that suffers the most hellish of devaluations, both in terms of it being sustained and the depth to which the devaluation is undertaken. I've told you before that Harry is in the sustained devaluation. And bit by bit, Harry's wife, as she takes from him and subjects him to her various malign manipulations, she is destroying him. One of the ways that this can be viewed and gauged is essentially a before and after situation. The victim invariably believes that the narcissist is the best thing that they've ever met, somebody that's come along and saved them, something that Harry mistakenly believes with regard to his wife. The victim thinks that this person has their best interests at heart, that they look after them, that they're kind, and there'll be instances of where that possibly has occurred, which has duped that victim. But they fail to see the steady erosion of who they once were, that they turn into a shell of themselves, invariably no longer recognizing the person that they once were. The joie de vivre has been extinguished. They no longer take a delight and joy in those things that once lit up their world. They have become an empty husk as a consequence of their ensnarement with the narcissist. And this is what is happening to Prince Harry. Having been seduced and thinking he's found his soulmate, thinking he's found somebody that adores him and will protect him and has an interest in him, he has been sucked into their awful shared fantasy. His ideas, limited as they were, have been wholesale replaced with the propaganda that she's poured into his lugs. She has ostracized him from his friends, from his family. She's taken him away from the things that made him happy, Africa, the services. And instead, she has caused him to have to go and live in a country that is alien to him, notwithstanding its greatness, away from all of the things that he holds dear and are familiar to him, and has convinced him that his family are racist and treacherous, and that them, just the two of them, stand shoulder to shoulder against the world. But if Prince Harry were to take a moment to look at how he has changed over this time, he might just start to realize what has him in its grip. I'm now going to let you see a series of before photographs charting Harry's life so that you can see from when he was a very young boy, becoming an adult man until he met Harry's wife, how he looked, how his boyish playfulness emanated, that he generally was invariably somebody that was happy. You can see the progression of his life. So let's take a moment to look at that before we then look upon the changes. With that run-through, a variety of images of Prince Harry through all of the years prior to the arrival of the spider, you can see the essence of who he is there. Now, let's take a different look and have a look at Harry since he's been involved with Harry's wife. Quite the stark difference, isn't there? Notice the irritation, the frustration, the anger, the malcontent, and there are many other instances of this having been demonstrated since he has been involved with Harry's wife. In some instances, he looks cowed, beaten, ground down. In others, defiant and irritated with the world. But it is that last picture that sits there looking at you now that sums up where he has got to now, where he looks. This is a current picture. He looks, in some respects, possibly spaced out. Is he high? Or is he just so confused, so disorientated, so dishevelled, that this is where he finds himself, looking dazed and confused? Quite the image, I'm sure you'll agree. But more to the point is, how did it become to be that this picture has found its way into the public domain? It's clearly a picture that's taken at his home in Monty Shit Show. It's clearly a recent picture, showing a dishevelled, possibly stoned, but certainly dishevelled and confused prince. This is how low he has fallen so far. And the point is also this. Somebody has leaked this photograph. Won't be Harry. Why would he? There's a hopelessness in those eyes. I recognise that. I've seen it many occasions in those of my victims. He's lost. And somebody's captured this moment. Not only having done that, they have then ensured that it has been leaked to the world so that they can see. It's either done to discredit him in terms of showing that he's on drugs, or it's done to show that he's dishevelled and a mess. Of course, the individual responsible for leaking it would play no part in having put him in this position, even though it is, of course, their fault that he finds himself where he is as a consequence of the manipulations and the abuse. But it's part of the ongoing campaign, the intermittent actions that have been taken to cause Prince Harry to look like a fool, the lack of support around the promotional activities for WA, the silence following those disclosures, the absence of appearances together. And now, as she continues to destroy him, the issuing of a picture such as this to make him look like a mess, to turn people against him, to erode further the sympathy for him. All the actions, of course, of a narcissist and those that have been entangled, those of you who've been entangled with a narcissist will recognise not only this course of conduct, but also the look of the individual, that such is Harry, where he looks bereft, hopeless, confused, and in a total mess. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.